Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story, which comes from What the Fuck Mum, who says, my mum met a guy online 3 months ago. She tells me yesterday she's moving from Pennsylvania to Florida with him at the end of the week. When anyone talks about state-to-state travel in the US, I always have to have a little Google just to see how many miles it is. Just because, you know, in the UK we can bop around by car and get from one end to the other in a few hours. I know most of the travel is by plane and whatever, but 17 hours over 1,100 miles. Anyway, I'm going off on one. Let's get into it. Using a throwaway. Too mind-fucked over this and have a few friends on Reddit. Backstory. So my mum has been single for years. She's been divorced a total of 3 times, a 1-year marriage when she was 18, married to my dad for 10 years, then remarried my stepdad almost another 10. And her last relationship was probably 8+ years ago, and that was to another waste of space, but she didn't marry that one. Recently she started dating online, and myself and my older brother and younger sister have been supportive of this. We understand she wants to meet someone and she deserves it too. She's been relatively cautious up until now and has been using a background check program on anyone she meets. She's turned away a number of scammer type guys she's met, one literally nicknamed Nigeria, and hasn't been easily duped. So she meets Jeff on another site. She'd been using a dating site where she met all the scammers. He came up on another site that isn't as well known. Jeff is a wealthy Russian businessman that has lived in the US since he was 23. He's got a daughter going to school in England and owns a construction company and is planning to retire soon. Jeff and Mum have been talking for a grand total of 3 months. The first month she even admitted she didn't talk to him much, since she was talking to all sorts of people when she first joined these dating sites, so really, let's call it 2 months. She's told me a few times before that she really likes him, but that's been it thus far. She texts me Saturday night saying just that. Yesterday she calls me after the usual pleasantries and she drops the bombshell on me. Her and Jeff are in love. He asked her to marry him. She said yes. The wedding is over the summer. He's visiting her in Pennsylvania next week. When he leaves Pennsylvania, she's going with him. This all over the phone. They haven't met face to face yet. She's not sure how to tell her boss, whom she's worked for almost 9 years, that she's quitting. But he sure as hell isn't getting 2 weeks' notice. Jeff wants to take care of her. She doesn't need a car. He'll take care of it. She owes too much to sell it yet. He calls her his world. He's got money and doesn't want her to work. My mum has always struggled with money, and obviously men. This guy comes along with a fairy tale story and wants to give her everything she could want, and she's hooked. Reddit. What the fuck? This is how 2020 specials start. I'm so incredibly worried about her and can't make any sense of the situation. Yes, there is always a possibility that this guy is completely legit and he just wants to sweep her off her feet and make her happy for the rest of her life. And again, if anyone told you they'd met a wealthy Russian living in Florida who was about to retire on millions and wanted to do nothing more than just take care of them, who would call that a fairy tale? And who would call it a scam? Opie then adds some additional details, which says Mum's not an American citizen. She has a green card and moved here from Australia about 20 years ago. I don't know if he's a citizen or not, but if this is what it's about, the joke's on him. Beyond whatever she might have in life insurance policy and a little retirement, neither of which I have any idea of, but which I don't believe to be significant. She really has no assets. My brother bought a house and moved her in there. My brother and sister are in Pennsylvania, but I moved to Florida and will, thankfully, be only 2.5 hours from where she is planning to move. I've been cautiously supportive. I told her my main reservation is that she's leaving with him immediately. If he's got so much money, take a few months and actually date, then decide to move down there. I texted her today asking for Jeff's last name and the name of his company. Her response was, I don't feel like talking today. Love you. And the story will continue in a moment with some relevant comments and updates to this post as well, but I always find these things so incredibly sad. Let's face it, this is going to be a scam. There is a very slim chance that maybe this is legit, but let's face it, it's not. But I always find these sort of things so sad. We get them a lot on our daytime TV where they're covering scammers who are taking advantage of people's loneliness. These scammers convincing people that, you know, they're going to be swept off their feet. They're going to find love. They're going to find a partner. They're going to live their life. They're going to have a wonderful time. When in reality, they're just there to try and take their money. And the only good outcome that could come from this is stopping Mum from meeting Jeff. Stopping Mum from losing whatever she may have to this person. But also in doing that, it's going to hurt your mum. It's going to damage her confidence even further. And it just pisses me off so much that there's people out there that will go this far. Don't give a shit about the person on the other end at all. Just absolutely toying with people's emotions. But someone asked OP, they said, can she do a background check? And OP said, that's one of the more frustrating aspects of this. Since my mum was using this background check program, she's convinced he's totally in the clear. Nothing turned up when she ran his name. As soon as I can get actual details on him, believe me, I will. A commenter said to meet him when he's in town, and OP said, fortunately, he'll meet my sister when he's in town next week. Unfortunately, dear sister has been the most supportive of this. My brother lives in New Jersey and might not be able to make it home in time, and him and I are in the same boat. I'll get to meet him soon regardless. She's planning on coming back to Florida with him when he leaves next week, so I'll drive to where they are and meet up. Whether she stays there permanently or whether she takes a leave of absence from work is yet to be seen. OP then talks about how Mum and Jeff and how they met and says, yeah, that's the hard part to convey. She's totally, completely and madly in love with this guy and started to give me some God talk about him too. She's prayed for years, finally thinks her prayers are answered, etc., which makes it even harder to tell her this sounds like a total scam. And no, it was a senior specific dating site. That's really one of the aspects that worries me the most. My mum has worked her ass off for so long and doesn't want to struggle to make ends meet. She's borrowed tons of money off my brother and never seems to really be able to get ahead. Then she goes on and on about how Jeff just wants to take care of her. He doesn't want her to work. She's going to have it easy. Life will be fine. It's such a tempting tale. I can't say I'm surprised she believes it. And someone asked if OP's brother talked to Mum yet and says, I know, highly unlike her in the first place. I did tell her yesterday how wrong I think it is that she's dropping everything this week, and that I really wanted to reconsider all this. Also, she has not actually spoken to my brother. He was only informed through my sister, and brother has not called Mum yet. Don't know if she's feeling shitty about what I said or the fact that brother hasn't called yet. And to top it off, just got a call that my sister is in hospital with a possible rupturing appendix. This week just needs to fucking die already. And I just want to comment one more time before we carry on with the rest of the information. It was going back to that first post where OP said, I texted her today asking for Jeff's last name and the name of his company, and her response was, I don't feel like talking today. Love you. And I'm not sure if it's exactly the case, but to me, it felt like she's already isolating herself already. Almost like she knows that this is dodgy, but refuses to believe it. Really wants to, grip onto that fairy tale for her. This is my chance to find love and happiness and just live a great life. And doesn't want anyone to put the doubts on that at all. And it just makes it even more heartbreaking. So then OP continued to edit the post, which says, thank you, Reddit. I haven't spoken to my mum yet, but you guys have given me a ton of great advice. Needless to say, I'm more concerned than before. That's only going to motivate me to really make her aware of just how shady this sounds and how worried I am. I've got to get some work done for now. I have needed to all day, but oh well. But I'll update you guys on this thread periodically, as well as later on when something has been resolved. Edit 3. I know you guys are dying for details, and people have sent me some really helpful links. Right now though, I don't have his picture, so no tiny eye or luck searching romancescam.com. No last name, so no people.com, or unleashing the hordes of the internet on him, or anything else at the moment. I spoke to my mum briefly a bit ago, who is unfortunately at the hospital with my sister, who is apparently going through a ruptured appendix. Mum claims she was just cranky when I texted her earlier, and that we'll talk tonight. Needless to say, it's been a shitty couple of days. Mum did say we would talk later, but for the time being, I really can't get any details about this guy. As soon as I know more or anything has actually happened, I'll post details, but thank you again, Reddit. The support, advice, links, and wealth of terrifyingly similar stories has been hugely helpful. For your information, just to clarify, I'm a daughter, not a son. Edit 5, Reddit, you've been amazing. Thank you for all the feedback, suggestions, and kind words. At this point, there's nothing I can do tonight. My sister is undergoing an emergency appendectomy. Of all fucking days, seriously. And my mum is with her at the hospital. It's not exactly an ideal time to be pressing her about this guy. I'm definitely going to get details on him tomorrow, as I do believe she won't try to withhold that information. But until then, I can't offer anything else. Thank you all again. I've received some really incredible PMs about people with heavy duty resources and will definitely be following up with them, especially as soon as I have more info. Good night to you all. Much love. Edit 6, I know you guys are dying for details, so here is the only update I have for now. I got some very basic details on this guy that my sister had mentioned to my brother. With the help of some supremely rad Redditors, we've ID'd a Jeff in the correct Florida city and gated community that I believe to be this guy. And when I say basic, I mean basic. I'm amazed that with the limited info I provided, people were able to find this stuff, but I'll just say that I believe this to be the correct person. Whether or not my mum's Russian is actually Jeff, or if said Jeff has had his identity stolen, I don't know yet. If this Jeff is the same guy, he's most definitely lying to my mum, since he's got a wife and his house is for sale. That's all for now though. Mum's checking up on my sister for the morning at the hospital, and then I'll be speaking to her this afternoon for details. Stay tuned, and thanks to everyone again. Major update. Good news, everyone. So I spoke to my mum just now. She filled me on my sister, doing fine by the way, and then we got into this current situation. She said that when I called her yesterday and expressed my serious concern about her leaving so soon, she said it was a serious wake-up call. She has also since started to take the blinders off on the warning flares that went up and admitted to me that she is seeing some more warning signs. She said that Jeff has, since she started asking questions just yesterday, clammed up. He's given her the, I know your kids want to know all about the man that is sweeping you off your feet, but we need to keep our private life private. Thankfully, she acknowledges how fucking shady a comment like that is. Finally, she said he recently asked her to do a favor for him. She won't tell me what it is. Could be receiving and shipping goods, could be sending money, who knows. She was adamant that she wouldn't tell me, but she's horribly embarrassed regardless. So here's where it stands. She says I, bows, thank you, gave her the wake-up call she needed, and she's convinced he's a scammer. She's also horribly heartbroken and feeling embarrassed. She broke down on the phone, and I swear it's been years since I've heard my mum cry. Thank God, however, that she isn't moving forward. However, what remains to be seen is the true identity of Jeff. With the help of some seriously awesome Redditors, I believe I know who the Jeff is that this Russian is parading as. A Russian definitely has a thick accent, and the Jeff that he claims to be apparently graduated from high school in Ohio in 1981. So I think it's safe to assume that Jeff has had his identity stolen. Her and I are going to email details tonight to see if we can't come up with more questions or leads on this guy. We will definitely inform the real Jeff of what's going on. There's good reason to assume he's innocent in this. The background info that the other Redditors have dug up isn't giving any indication that he's a shady dude, but we want to see if we can't find out more from the Russian first. In this case, if we can find out who the Russian really is, believe me, I'll go to /b/myself. Not sure what that means. OP then adds one last post, which says, Hi Reddit, I figure a new post was a better place for an update, since the other one had gotten so crazy. The most recent update is that Mum is not moving to Florida with Jeff. She said I helped her see the light about the situation when I called her back about it after our first conversation. Thankfully, she took the blinders off, recognized that there were warning signs, and is completely convinced the guy is not who he says he is. Mum's really hurt, but thankful that she didn't let it go any further. 2. Nothing has moved forward over the last day or so since my sister got out of hospital from her appendectomy. Work was really busy on Friday, and without the rush to make sure mum didn't pack up in the next few days, I haven't been as on top of pursuing more leads as I should have. That said, there are still some really incredible Redditors out there that have helped track down some really impressive info for me. I plan on sending them some additional info that might give us an idea to who the Russian is that is masquerading as Jeff. I'll post updates on the situation as they come about. 3. Lastly, this was suggested by another Redditor in the old post, and I really like the idea. I think it'd be great if we could pull together a list of best practices to try and keep our friends and family, especially the older ones, safe when it comes to meeting people online. Once I posted my story, I was horrified at the abundance of people that had heard or experienced the same story, with slight variations. I think that it's one thing to say, "Mum, this sounds like a scam." It's another to go to her and say, "Mum, this has every hallmark of being a scam. It has A through Z on the list of warning signs." So I'll start. These aren't all necessarily pertaining to my mum's situation, but deal with details other people warn me of. Please feel free to contribute. Start at romancescam.com if you have suspicions, which is still active by the way. I was contacted by a mod there after they got a ton of hits. Thanks Reddit. And they have a really great collection of stories and warnings from other people that have been hurt, duped, or lost everything. Second, rich or foreign businessmen do not find love on dating sites with middle or lower class women. If the new romance asks for favors that seem innocuous, receive and send some mail/packages, send a small loan, anything that a legal citizen with a job, a working phone, and a legit address should be able to do for themselves without any problems, is not innocuous and could possibly be criminal. Fun fact, if they actually are a Russian in Florida, run for the hills. I know it's all anecdotal, but the number of people commenting on the fact that Florida is the place for Russians in organized crime spooked me significantly. I would love feedback on this one. I wouldn't want to say don't date foreigners, but the number of people dealing with stories of men and women from other countries with accents that woo too many people is highly common. Should one just assume that it's a red flag and be highly wary until their identity is actually verified? Thanks again, everything Reddit. You rock my socks so hard. Seriously, I'm barefoot right now. And I think that information is incredibly helpful even today. You know, this post was from a few years back, but the dating scams and other types of scams are still everywhere today. I get phone calls daily with various scams going on. I like to keep them online for a bit, you know, play dumb and all that sort of stuff. Just waste their time for a bit. I just find that good fun. I'm sad like that. But always be wary, I think. Always be on your toes with this sort of stuff. The scams are continually evolving all the time. They play on current world events. Take the energy prices in the UK at the moment. I'm not sure what it's like everywhere else, but in the UK, the energy prices have shot up. So I had a call yesterday from an energy company who was telling me they can offer me a great deal, basically. And yeah, of course, it was a scam. I get people faking to be PayPal phoning me all the time, saying, "Oh, there's something going on in your account. We're going to send you like a small amount just to prove it's us," with the aim to get a bigger load of money back, basically. And then, of course, there's the romance scams like in this post where you're playing with people's emotions, you're playing with people's loneliness, they're playing with people's mental health, and it's just fucking absolutely disgusting. I can feel steam coming off the top of my head. I know most people are aware of all these sorts of things going on these days, but even if it helps one person along the way, it's absolutely worth it. No one deserves this. And the fact that OP's mum afterwards was embarrassed about it as well, because some other arsehole out there, it winds me up, it really does. But anyway, what do you guys make of this situation? Maybe you have your own story relatable to this. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And before you do go, I just want to leave you with a little something. I've been getting hooked on reading Amazon reviews just recently. Some people make up jokey ones, some people have just funny ones in general, and this one did make me chuckle. Obviously, it's a bit of a jokey one, but it did make me chuckle. And it says, "Gold leaf sheets ruined my life." So obviously someone that's bought gold leaf sheets. "Ever since my wife began watching videos on TikTok, she became obsessed with online influencers like Salt Bae. After trying to show an interest in her hobby, I decided to purchase some edible gold leaves and cook her a delicious steak. She absolutely loved it. I even added a few theatrics with sprinkling the salt and serving it in a mini suitcase, just like her favorite influencer. This is when things started to go downhill. One day after coming home from work, the wife decided to return the favor, serving up a roast chicken covered in the gold leaf. It was funny and quite delicious, but I noticed a desperation in her face as she attempted to mimic her beloved Salt Bae. This continued over the course of a few weeks. Beef Wellington covered in gold leaf, soup topped with gold leaf, pasta, each individual piece covered in gold leaf. The last straw was when I walked into my wife serving our infant child a bottle of milk covered in gold leaf. I was at my wit's end, and when returning from a particularly long day at work, I opened the door to find a trail of gold leaf leading towards our bedroom. I opened the door and to my shock find my wife laying on the bed covered in gold leaf. In a panic, I run towards our spare bedroom to give myself some space, and I scream as I see every single object in the room, the wallpaper, even the bed sheets are covered in gold leaf. I didn't know what to do. I grabbed our gold leaf covered child and ran. I've been staying in a hotel for the last 3 weeks. When checking in, our credit card was declined. I called our bank and found over $200,000 in savings had been spent on gold leaf. I'm rebuilding our life now. I've been told by friends that my wife is moving to Turkey in hopes of opening a restaurant like her idol. With all that said and done, delivery of the gold leaf was fast. They were easy to use and quite delicious. Despite my life being ruined by gold leaf, I can't help but wholeheartedly give a 5-star review. Anyway, I will leave that one with you. A huge thanks for spending your time with me today, getting involved in the stories you'll love, support and time. Always means the absolute world to me, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.